Welcome to ET with GOTB. What a weekend of football. Let's get into it. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Match week 5 absolutely delivered, Soph. Despite the weather, it was a very enjoyable one.
It was. Yeah, we almost got blown away. Almost got rained away.
We. Me.
Well, both of us. Trying to walk around the corner of Leicester City Stadium was hard.
It was hard to walk into the stadium, guys, into the under the covers. Yeah.
With the tornado blowing.
There were some absolute wonder goals too. We've just voted for September's goal of the month. I feel like October's is like, vote now, because the first weekend had unreal goals. So yeah, definitely go. If you haven't managed to watch the games back, do have a scroll through the highlights because some of the goals have been amazing. Do you want to tell our listeners first what you were doing for most of this weekend, other than watching football?
I've been watching football.
Listening to Taylor Swift's new album.
Oh yes, of course. I was like, why is that so hard?
Yeah.
No, yes, I was. I was like, what do I do outside of football? Yes, listening to Taylor Swift's new album. I am addicted. You are addicted.
I will ask for the very keen listeners, what are your favourite tracks?
Or Opalite is like...
Oh, mama, you
literally has been going... so good. I literally been going around my head all of the game yesterday. I just had that chorus on repeat. And then they played Coldplay.
Can't remember what that one's called.
That song.
Catchy.
But it's the one they sing at the end of their concert, and I had it on like a mix in my head.
Sounds
like
good.
The two of them.
You should drop it.
I think actually that would work quite well. Anyway, yeah, Opalite. I love Eldest Daughter as well.
I'm not a bad bitch.
See,
I've been listening for you.
I can't sing. She can.
I'm a good wife.
I would never sing, not on camera, unless I'm not going there.
Anyway, I do like to cover the important stuff before we get into this week's episode.
I mean, what's more important than Taylor Swift?
You're welcome. As always, we are going to have a quick look at the results in the WSL, the table, some of the key pointers from the game. We're going to do your player of the week, our player of the week, your standout moment, and your team of the week, which you said you're not that happy with, so you might need some people's inputs.
I was also happy with it, yeah.
Tougher today? Tougher this week?
Yeah, I think because obviously you had the two title race games, and then there was a bit of everyone else, but that's fine. But I think there was a bit of a middling everywhere else, if that makes sense.
Some were good, some were bad. Some of the goals are great, some weren't. Some controversy, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
We'll then, of course, run through the action in the WSL 2 and give you an update of what the table is looking like there. There's been a little bit of movement, and then we'll look ahead to the Champions League this week as well. Before we get into that, this is your weekly reminder to make sure you are following us across all of our social media platforms. We're at Girls on the Ball. Make sure you're subscribed as well wherever you're listening or wherever you're watching this podcast. We are hoping to have some extra bits coming out this week as well, which you will not miss if you're subscribed. Okay.
Starting off our super subs, right?
We are. That's the admin out of the way. Right, let's run through the results. See if I get these right. Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1, Captain and Sandberg with the goals. Manchester City 3, Arsenal 2, Shaw, Kasparai, Benny, Caldente and Kelly with the goals. Leicester 1, Everton 1, Vignola and Mouchon with the goals. Tottenham 1, Brighton 0, Dinkatamberg with the goal again. London City 1, Liverpool 0, Linari with the penalty, and West Ham 0, Aston Villa 2, Hansen and Willems with some unbelievable goals there. They were, go back and watch them if you haven't seen them.
I'm almost also determined to say Katinka Tamberg as many times as possible because it makes me happy.
There you go. She said it once so far. Let's do a counter.
Katinka Tamberg.
Number 2.
It rolls off the tongue.
It really does. Okay, it means the table looks like this. Chelsea remain unbeaten, although they did drop points to Manchester United, so it's a little bit tighter at the top. They're on 13 with City and Spurs on 12 just below. United are on 11 points in 4th place. Liverpool and West Ham remain the only teams yet to get a point on the board, so it's not been a very good run for them thus far. I wonder how many more weeks we're going to say that. It's an interesting one. Hopefully not many. Hopefully they get off the board soon. We did 3 games this weekend, so we'll start with them before running through the rest. Starting, of course, with Manchester United versus Chelsea, Friday night under the lights at Lee Sports Village. What a wonderful place to be. But actually a really fun game. It was windy, it was cold, it got really wet in the second half, but I did get some good photos because of the rain, so there's always that. But a really, really good game of football, a very brave performance from United, end to end at times, momentum swinging back and forth. I thought Chelsea started the first half well. United really grew into the first half. United started the second half well, and then Chelsea really finished off strongly. So maybe a draw was a fair result. I'm sure Chelsea fans will tell us why that's not the case, but I actually think, funnily enough, I feel like it's the best United have played against Chelsea, and they still only got a draw.
I think United deserve.
Oh, they're going to come for us. Oh man, here we go. It's because we're biased, so
come for me, not her. No, I do think that was the best I've seen United play against Chelsea. I think they made Chelsea really think about things for long periods of the game. Chelsea started pretty well, and Mark Skinner said that in his post-match. He was like, for the first 5-10 minutes, we weren't on the ball. Although they did have the first two big chances. I think Elizabeth Turland had a shot saved really well by Hannah Hampton, and then was it Jess Park who fired over from close range. So they had a couple of big chances, but Chelsea were finding gaps down the wide areas, and they were exploiting those, and that's where the goal initially came from, the Vika captain goal, the
lovely
opener.
goal, that.
It was a lovely goal. Johanna Ritting-Canner bursting through into the space left by, it would have been Sandberg down the left, yeah. And breaking forward, then she had all the time in the world to put in a cross. It was a lovely back heel from Macario to set up the captain. And it looked like Chelsea would probably go on from there. They had started to look really comfortable. But then I think things changed slightly, and Mark Skinner altered a few things in his side. It made, for the rest of the half, it did kind of look like Man United had an extra player out there, I thought. And he called...
They didn't, by the way, just to clarify, in case you were watching.
But they were just like, Ella Toon and Jess Park were able to find the spaces in the Chelsea midfield. I don't think Chelsea set up well enough. I think, as Mark Skinner said, they had two controllers in the middle to try and nullify that.
That's what's interesting.
Jess Park and Ella Toon, and they just really didn't operate in that way whatsoever. And I think Jess Park in particular, I called her electric. Mark Skinner agreed, and he also said that he thought Ella Toon has come to life. They both have come to life because of that partnership they're forming for Manchester United. So, yeah, a really interesting game. I think United can feel very proud of themselves. I think essentially where Chelsea came back into it, yes, there were a few changes, but Man United just ran out of legs. And you could see Julia Zigiotta, who was phenomenal throughout. She was one of the best players on the pitch. But she just ran out of steam on the 85th minute. There was one moment where she picked herself up and was like, oh my God, I've got another 5+ minutes to go. They ran themselves into the ground. They gave everything to the game. That last-ditch challenge from Letizia, I think.
Oh, yeah. And she had to lie on the ground for a little bit after that.
Yeah, I mean, you would. I think that just shows the effort that they put in, and also shows the lack of strength and depth that they have, that we have covered so many times. I don't want to rehash all things. But I think that is a point where you look at who Chelsea could bring on off the bench, and it is a remarkable difference. I was surprised about Alyssa Thompson coming on so early.
Yeah, the captain sub was unusual at 51 minutes.
Sonia Bonpastor said it was because they wanted to try and get in behind the attacking fullbacks, which makes complete sense.
But why not do it at half time?
Well, I think she wanted to see how things were going for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Seems strange.
But then realised when United came out in top gear, because they started the second half really well, realised they probably needed to change things quicker than she thought they did. But yeah, she said she wanted to bring on Thompson to get in behind, and that makes sense because United's fullbacks do tend to go up so high. But actually I think it worked in the reverse, and it allowed Jade Riviere just to pop balls over the top of Alyssa Thompson. And I think there was a chance for Jess Park to go running, a chance for Ella Toon, just poor decision making at the end in the box. That didn't really mean there was a goal to show for it.
I think when we say brave as well, what stood out to me was we saw it a bit with the Bran match for United, where they were like, this is the most important game. This is all that matters now. Even though we've Arsenal on the horizon in 3-4 days' time, doesn't matter. This is the most important game. And that felt like this again at the weekend. They were like, this is the most important game. We've got Champions League first game a few days' time, but this, and we're going to go all out. And that's where I'm like, I find that really brave, but also think, is it sustainable as the season goes on with the squad they have? And as you say, we're not going to rehash over that. But the other thing that I thought was interesting that Mark Skinner said, which I agree with, was that he agreed that it was the best performance they've had against Chelsea, and they still came out with a draw.
Yeah,
because
Chelsea.
No, but no matter how much we improve, Chelsea continue improving. They're not going to stand still. It's not about catching Chelsea. That's the difficult thing. It's the same with when we touch on like people bemoaning England's form or teams doing well against England, like yes, England are improving, but so is everyone else. And it's that gap of like improving quickly while Chelsea continue to improve. And I think that's the weird thing is like, we're not celebrating a draw, but like I think the fact that he was frustrated they didn't win is a change in maybe how
I think it is worth saying that Chelsea did play well. They didn't not play well.
Yeah.
I think there were just like certain tactical things that Man United exploited at certain points of the game, and Chelsea finished really, really strongly.
They forced Valentin Joyce into some top saves as well.
And if they'd had another 10 minutes, I think they would have definitely won the game.
Yeah.
So they were fashioning chances. They did look lively. I was surprised at Aggie not getting a shot at being, the full out number 9.
Mm-hmm.
She tucks in behind Macario in the second half, and she was on the left in the first half.
Mad, isn't it?
And given that she's your most
said before and got told off.
And given that she's their most potent striker at the moment, she scored 4 and 4. Yeah. To take her out of that like frontline position was kind of a bit of an interesting one for me. I know it's probably like personnel and tactics wise, but it just seems strange that she never really took
She's
up that
so
position,
clinical in the box this season.
When you know what she's like. But yeah, so it's not to say Chelsea didn't play well at all. They did. They were very, very good at times. They were very entertaining. But I thought just Man United showed enough that they could have won that game.
It's what made the game so enjoyable to watch. And when games are played at that kind of pace and intensity, you can kind of forgive when the final 10 minutes maybe go a bit flat, and they just didn't.
And actually, maybe you're right at the beginning. Maybe a result for that kind of game is a shared result is actually the fairest thing, because they were both potent at points in time.
It's a great way to kick off a fun weekend of football. I did get ridiculously wet though, like I was horribly wet. So,
but I'm glad, as you said at the beginning, I'm glad it was entertaining, because I really didn't want to be. I love football more than anything, but it was late on a Friday night. It was Lee is an absolute hellhole to get in and out of.
It's so hard, man.
It was cold. It was wet. It was windy. And on those Friday nights, and Graham Norton and Taylor Swift were on the TV at home, and I was just like,
I know where I want to be.
I just want to be on the couch watching this at home and not having to move. And I'm glad we were entertained, because it was worth.
Sophie,
it was
dry in a press box.
It was worth being there for that
reason.
So
tough for you. Okay, we then were up bright and early. I just about dried off for the Manchester City Arsenal game. Although getting from the car park to the ground actually was like quite a challenge, because it was raining sideways. And it was
hailing at one point.
It was
like -1 feel.
Real feel on the weather app. Imagine that. It was another game that delivered. This game, I think, always does. There's always a bit of drama in this game. And I feel like coming into this, the pressure was definitely more on Arsenal, because I think form-wise, they've been struggling, whereas it's felt like City have been improving as game by game. And you can see things clicking and relationships clicking and players scoring goals and getting off the mark. Whereas for Arsenal, they've been a bit like stop-start and stuttery, and there's been lots of questions around their form. So that made it even more interesting. I thought the opening 15 minutes or so, Arsenal started well, pressing well, but again, get nothing out of that momentum, take nothing out of that press, and then just kind of back off and become really passive.
Yeah, they did start well, Arsenal. I think sloppiness in the first half was a huge feature actually for both teams. But yeah, I think Arsenal, I'm sort of in two minds about this like run of bad form, because they're not playing well. I do get that completely, but they've also, like, I would say, dropping the points to Aston Villa is the most disappointing of all 3 games where they've dropped points.
Yeah, I think the Manchester United one seemed bigger when they went and did it against Aston Villa straight afterwards. And I think if they beat Aston Villa, that wouldn't have been such a big deal.
And, like, don't get me wrong, you have to, like Mark Skinner was saying the night before, you have to get 4 points out of these games.
Dropping 7 in the opening.
Yeah, but then also going to, like, get a draw at Manchester United, they will feel confident that at the Emirates later in the season they'll be able to beat both of them at home. I'm not saying they will,
okay.
But that will be the thinking. Like, you've got to get 4 points of them. It's hugely disappointing, because it seems to be the same old story every season for Arsenal.
Same problems.
They are playing catch up way too early, and before they know it, they're so far behind that even when they do eventually pull themselves back in it, as they always tend to, it's a little too late to actually challenge for the title at the top of the league. So that's a disappointment for them. There are problems in attack. They were sloppy. They just take too many touches on the ball. They weren't shooting.
Oh God, it's
They're
so
trying
annoying.
to find the perfect goal. I think Renee Slegg is changing some parts of her team a lot. and some parts of her team, or not, some parts of her team too much,
and some parts
not enough. I actually didn't mind the Lotte Wubben-Moy inclusion. I thought Lotte actually performed pretty well. I did understand why she brought her in to manage Bunny Shaw, and I know Katie Reed's been really, really good this season, but I did get that decision, especially in terms of like the passing the ball and stuff. But then, yeah, I think it was Tim who said in the post-match, it was a game of momentum shifts, and it was, the game shifted from Arsenal having a strong start, Manchester City coming back at them properly at the end of the second half, getting their goal. Arsenal starting really well in the second half and getting their goal. City came back again. And, we had those changes and momentum quite a lot.
I really enjoyed the City performance, and I felt like there was a maturity about them that maybe we haven't seen in previous seasons. Like, there wasn't a panic. And to be fair, they didn't go behind, so there wasn't really any reason to panic. But there was almost like a maturity in that they kind of knew they were going to get their opportunities. They just had to see out this kind of early Arsenal press. And I think, as we've touched on, they're being more direct. They were spotting opportunities quickly. There was a Kirsten Kasperai goal that was ruled out for offside, which Bunny Shaw should have just shot. I think they deserved a goal from that move. But it also came from this decision where we talk about Arsenal's press. And in that moment, what sometimes they do is they stand in a high press, but they don't engage the press. So I feel like if you're going to stand in those spaces, ultimately leaving gaps at the back, you need to actually be, pressuring the back line. And they weren't. They're just standing in a high press, and City were like, cool, loads of space over the back.
Yeah.
Great ball over from Rose to find, I think it was Kasperai, who found Bunny Shaw, hesitated. But, they were very good, quick at reading those moments. And then I had Kasperai coming down towards me in the second half. And you could just see, even when Benny came on, that quick relationship where she'd be like, quick ball to her and immediately going back here, give it to me, going forward. She's getting forward much more.
They reacted quicker as well than Arsenal. And I think when you look at every single City goal, part of it, not all of it, but part of it is down to Arsenal's slow reactions. Caitlin Ford just stops dead and doesn't track Kirsten Kasperai's run. The second one was the second ball of a corner. Arsenal don't react to that. And then the third one, they just sort of put in the initial challenge, and then no one reacts to the second ball, and Benny's just got all the time in the world.
Yeah, I will say the build up to that, the intensity of that forward pressing from City was brilliant.
I'm not taking anything away from City. I think City look really good in attacking areas.
Confident.
They are building things up really well. They have dynamism. I think they do struggle a bit defensively, and we did see that at times on Sunday, and perhaps there were times of pressure that Arsenal were putting on them, but overall they dealt pretty well with it. And I think in attack they look really good. I think the thing is, these are both teams are built on attacking football.
Yeah, and I think a big result for Jeglerts, and he spoke post-match about the belief in the squad and how the team never felt they were out of it, and never felt, they just kept going because they felt they could get the winner. And I think he was really proud of that. And I actually quite liked it. Sky released part of his kind of pre-match talk, which I really liked. And that was something that he really pushed on, was that belief within the squad. And that's a hard thing to get into a squad when you're a new manager. So I think it's a big result for him.
It's so important as well because, you concede that goal in the 81st minute, the Chloe Kelly goal?
Yeah.
And then Arsenal keep coming at you. And I remember in the press box we were saying, well, it might look like there's 6 minutes left, but that's a long time for things to change in this game. And I didn't know which way it was going to change, but I did feel there was another goal on one side or the other. Arsenal had a couple of chances. I think Beth Mead had a chance. Frida Mornham had an opportunity in the box that she should have done better with.
Steen had a 1v1 one point.
Yeah, but that was before earlier. Chloe Kelly. But so there were chances coming their way. And for Man City to go, well, we're not going to just try and solidify this point. We're going to try and get this goal to win this game. I think shows the bravery of them and the belief in themselves that they can do that. I thought Benny added a lot of energy when she came off the pitch. Bunny Shaw was back to her
unbelievable.
Yes, she should have hit that goal that was offside by Kirsten Kasperai, but I think she was troublesome throughout.
That third goal came from her winning the ball against Steph Catley, and the way she took it down on her chest and kept it close was just such a lovely bit of football, and it's what allowed.
And then she gave you the best picture of the weekend.
She gave me the best picture of the weekend, so thank you so much for all of that passion. I love players who celebrate, and that was a great one from both Benny and Bunny. Benny and Bunny, yeah, I did get quite a few in the rain. Okay, we are going to move on to Leicester 1, Everton 1. I'll be honest, wasn't the most exciting way I thought we could end the weekend. especially given the stats before this game stated that this fixture in particular produces the least amount of goals, 0.75 on average. But both teams scored in the second half. I thought Everton edged it. First half especially, I thought they were unlucky not to go in ahead, despite struggling from injuries again. Courtney Brosnan is out. Katja Snoyce didn't make the squad. Kelly Gago didn't make the squad. And they shifted to a back three, didn't they? I think they're trying to deal with the fact that they don't have the personnel.
They're trying to protect their attacking fullbacks. I think a lot of the time this season, whoever's been in the fullback position, whether it's been Maz Pacheco or whether it's Katie Robinson or Karen Holmgaard last week, I think because they like to push high, they get caught out quite often. So I think the idea was to bring three in at the back to try and protect them and allow them to utilise their attacking skills rather than have to be so exposed.
I thought Karen Holmgaard had a very good game.
Yeah,
I thought she played really well.
I actually think it was a fair result between the two of them.
Do you think the second half?
Personally, I think it was a very well matched encounter. Both, they set up with three at the back. Both kind of nullified each other's strengths a bit. Everton had some big chances, yes, but so did Leicester. There was the one who Olivia McCaughlin hit the bar later on as well. So I think, I
will say though, the goal that Everton conceded was a terrible goal to concede. Lost the ball halfway up the pitch again from high fullbacks, and then should not be scoring at that inside post.
She was just allowed to run through like three defenders and then get the ball in past Emily Ramsey at the near post, which she'll know she should have done better on that one. But yeah, I think it was a fair result. It was quite intriguing to see how they were doing. Some really good spells of play, I think, and I'm really pleased for Naomi Mouchon. She did her ACL in October 2024. That's like a year ago now. She's slowly been coming back. She's had like 10 minutes or so this season, and she comes on and within a minute she gets her first goal. So I think that's going to be really good for her, because she never really had a Leicester career because she did her ACL within like 4 weeks. So this is like a really good chance to kind of reignite that, I think.
I did think it was unfortunate that Kitagawa had to come off as early as she did, 54 minutes.
Yeah, she's recovering from injury.
Yeah, I just felt when the players came on, it didn't necessarily sustain what Everton had been doing, and they lost an outlet on the right side. I think they really struggled going up on the right in terms of productivity, and that definitely changed in the second half. Like that became much more apparent.
I would say Pacheco actually was at the heart of several good chances in that second half.
I'm talking about, well, am I getting my sides wrong? Katie Robinson and Tony Payne.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Kitagawa.
Yeah, no, I was moving on.
Oh, okay.
I was saying the other changes that then came on, where I just thought they kind of lost that bit of productivity on the right-hand side and they were hampered a little bit. But I think they'll be disappointed with the goal, Everton, that they conceded. But equally, there's a never say die attitude that Leicester have now. It's almost like they're confident now with their defending, which I think was built under Miguel. And they're confident now to get forward and they're less likely to just sit back.
There was another game where they had like 47% or something.
Liverpool, wasn't it? They had 47% again.
So the last three games, they've started to get into the high 40s percentage wise in terms of ball possession. So they're getting much more confident on the ball. They're looking to play it a lot more, I think. And they still like Mouchon coming back is a big bonus for them, because I think we've said all along they lack that number 9 figure. If she can be that or be something similar to that. That will help them for sure, but they do need to go in January to get themselves, a target person, I think.
Okay, we're going to move on to Tottenham versus Brighton, which ended 1-0 to Tottenham. There was some controversy here in the opening 5 minutes. Brighton, for me, should have had a penalty. A relatively simple ball pass back to Koga in the box, and she slipped. And I think it was Cankovic who was in immediately. And Koga, while still on the ground, got up and just threw herself on top of the ball into the path of Cankovic, thus taking Cankovic out and arguably handling the ball in the same phase of play. And nothing happened. It was the referee was right there, super obvious. He eventually blew his whistle. I don't really know what happened from the whistle blowing, but it wasn't a penalty. And I just think, Dario Vidicic cut a very frustrated figure. He thought at post-match, she thought that there was another penalty that should have been given on Kiko Seika. I can forgive that one more because it's very hard to see whether there was actually contact on or whether Kiko kind of lost her footing. That one's harder to tell in real time. But I thought that opening 5-minute one was, a very clear penalty. And to be fair, it's not the first time there's been issues for me with this referee. We've seen him in 3 games now. And in 3 of those games,
he's without, the one who likes to count down, right?
He is, yeah. Without knowing who the ref, really thinking about who the ref was, thinking, oh, there's some poor decisions here. Oh, that's not a great decision. Always, missed that, and then going and realizing that each time it's been the same referee. But and Dario also said that Tottenham could feel aggrieved as well because it was very inconsistent for both teams.
I think both were penalties.
Really? You said yesterday you didn't think the Kiko Seika one was.
Oh. No, I think they were, on reflection, I think they were both penalties, especially the first one. I do think, though, that Brighton didn't create.
No.
So while they were penalties, and I give them that, they didn't create an awful lot. They had 2 shots on target.
No.
And I thought Tottenham were pretty impressive.
Jess Naz.
Jess Naz had probably her best game in a long, long time.
That's what Martin Ho said.
Productivity-wise. She was looking really, really dangerous. She got the assist for the goal as well for Tandberg. So I think that's a real positive because I think she has struggled to... She's always looked bright in phases of the game. I often think she'd make a brilliant fullback because she's full of running. Yeah. She is good in a challenge, good in a duel. But sometimes what lets her down sometimes is like that productivity in that final area. But to see that against... on Sunday, it was super.
Particularly given everything she's gone through over the last couple of weeks. She's faced racist abuse on social media. She's very bravely and strongly stood up and spoken out against it, which I really respect. And Martin Ho spoke pre-match about how they were going to celebrate Black History Month and as well as support Jess Naz. He said was very much he wanted to let the players decide that. They decided not to take the knee because they don't think it's having any impact anymore, and they wore t-shirts as well, pre-match in the warm-up, but also on the sideline. They were all wearing t-shirts as well to stand up against racism, which I thought was a very powerful message. But also, I just think given everything she's gone through, she had an unbelievable performance, which is
perfect timing for England squad.
Perfect timing for England squad. As I said, Dario post-match wasn't happy. As you said, they didn't create much, but then you can argue, like, had they gotten that penalty, could it have changed the momentum of the game?
Anything can change moments of games.
But a great start for Tottenham. That's 4 wins in 5 now. I think they've only done that twice in their kind of whole WSL history, which is very impressive. Very impressive start for Martin Ho as well. He can be very pleased. And Brighton are not an easy team to come up against. They're the team, I think, that's always seems most likely to be pushing for that 5th and snapping at the heels of 4th potentially, but maybe not this season just yet. Looking like Tottenham is doing that, much to everybody else's surprise. But I think just another annoying game, kind of with that little bit of controversy, which we don't necessarily want to be talking about. And we're going to in the next game. London City 1, Liverpool 0. The controversy I don't feel was London City winning. I think actually, on paper, and not on paper, but after looking at the match, London City deserved to win that match. They were more creative, had more chances on goal, definitely could have scored more. The controversy came in the manner that they did get the winning goal, which was a penalty awarded late in the game. And I cannot, for the life of me, understand, A, how it was awarded a penalty, and then to kind of further make it worse is the commentary on the game saying it's a clear-cut penalty, watching the replays, continuing to say it's a clear-cut penalty, and then having in the studio post-match everyone saying it was an obvious penalty when Nikita Paris, what kind of annoyed me was some of the comments online was, Nikita Paris referees the game or so. Nikita Paris didn't make the mistake. The referee made the mistake. And it was a free out, it should have been for me. I think actually probably a yellow card for Keats for a high boot. But this thing of the keeper caught her, the reason Keats went down was because she had a high boot and she collided with the goalkeeper's thigh, and that's why she fell over. Was her action is why she fell over. So I really struggling to understand the argument that was a goalkeeper mistake.
I can understand in real time
a high boot?
Well, like, it just depends the angle that you're watching it. But I can understand in real time, and I'm just going to make a call for technology again. I know people don't like VAR, but I think, or like, we should have that video, like the FVS thing.
The half,
the half one, or something like that, because I do think I know there are problems with VAR, but technology helps in these instances, and I do honestly think that if Emily Heaslip goes back and looks at that, she changes her mind.
Well, apparently not, because none of the bloody staff or people at Sky, they watch and
rewatch,
and they still think it's penalty.
No, but I honestly think if there had been VAR in place and she'd been called over to the monitor, she would have seen that and changed her mind. I think that's where technology can come in and help the referees, and I do want, like, it's for me it's a penalty. It's not for me. It's not a penalty. Sorry,
you're self-confused here.
Getting confused with the form of game. It's not a penalty for me. I think it is a free out on the keeper. I think, it's very unfortunate, especially at that time of the game, for that to happen, 89th minute. As well, it gives Liverpool such little time to get back into things.
I mean, I've got to give them another half an hour.
Probably,
back into that.
But you know what I mean. I just but I do think they need some help, and even that, like, the referral system that we saw at the Under-17s World Cup, where a manager can challenge and then they lose their challenge if it's not right, then it's like what you see in many other sports.
Things I will say is, I'm 99% sure that every single team on the sideline, their analysts have iPads with the game on the iPad where they can clip up, stop, rewind, all of that stuff on an iPad. If both teams can have that, there's no reason why that can't be facilitated.
Well, VAR is essentially that, isn't it?
It's an iPad or a laptop with the game live, and it just allows you to go back and rewind, and it would give the fourth official something else to do. So maybe that's the issue, or would require another staff member to staff that, but it would make such a difference to those small things. And look, some managers say it and it might seem overreactive at the time, but like it can really decide things. It can decide games. It can determine, careers for some people in some cases, which sounds dramatic, but the difference of a point or 3 points or whatever that might be because of a penalty that everyone else, maybe clear as day from the sidelines or on TV, can see, but you don't see in real time. And just that ability to just check something back very quickly.
Liverpool were a minute plus injury time away from taking a point home, their first point of the season. Now they've been having a really difficult start to the season, and that's not to say it would go on to lead to anything, but it gives you a foundation, right? It gives you something to build on. It gives you some positivity, whereas now they're heading home 3 points down again. Nothing really to cling on to, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was concerned about Liverpool pre-season. I said they were a team I was worried about. They had 2 shots in the opposition box. And at one point,
they're not creating enough.
At one point during the second half, maybe 60, 70 minutes in, the kind of graphic came up to say, London City had 6 shots to Liverpool's nil. They'd had 2 shots on target to Liverpool's nil. They'd had X amount of touches in the box to Liverpool's nil. And you're just like, yeah, I feel like it's one of those moments that teams need to ride out. I remember seeing it with Everton last season. There was a real kind of like low, difficult time of the season, and players were dejected, and it's a difficult moment to be in. And at a point or 3 points or whatever a result can really just help to turn the tide a little bit. So yeah, I can understand feeling aggrieved. Although Gareth Taylor did say post-match that he knew that penalty would be given, which, I mean, maybe he was coming at it from a different angle, but controversial all the same. Although I don't think the result was necessarily not deserved.
Yeah.
I think London City Lionesses deserved that win. Okay, finally to West Ham 0, Aston Villa 2. Woes continuing for the Hammers. Again, another good 45 minutes of football. First half, they don't capitalise and they get punished. And I mean, if I was Ryan Skinner, I'd be pulling my hair out, because they were creating in the first half. They were creating opportunities in the first half. They were getting into spaces. She can't do more than go on the bloody pitch and put the ball in the back of the net herself. This is where I'd be really frustrated, because you're like, the plan is working in terms of getting you into the spaces you need to be in.
You're just not playing them up.
You're just not scoring the goals or putting it on target. 12 shots and 1 on target. And they've had, I think, 2 games where they've had no shots on target.
Yeah.
Like...
there is a shared responsibility there. But I think when you're getting in those areas, I think what Rhiannon Skinner will be positive about, and it's probably hard to be positive at the moment, but what she will be is positive about is that they are getting in those areas, they are fashioning those chances, and at some point the laws of probability show that they eventually
hang in there, guys.
they're eventually going to hit the back of the net. But I don't know how long you wait for those laws of probability to kick in. I think there has to be some collective responsibility.
34 touches in the opposition
players.
box.
I saw like Shakira Martinez hit 2 over that you would expect to see her hit on target. She's having a slow start to the season. I think there were various opportunities, and what Aston Villa did create, that was a big chance in the first half from there. Kirsty Hansen putting it wide from basically an open goal. But they did have their opportunities, and there's only so much you can do if they're not taking them.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is a lot of the time that detail isn't actually looked at. It's just, well, they've lost again, so they're shit, or they've no style, and I've seen a lot of that, people saying you can't see what West Ham are trying to do, and it's like, well, maybe you should watch them. But Aston Villa, I was going to say, I did speak to Natalia pre-match, and I kind of touched on both the fact that West Ham and Aston Villa had very similar starts to the season, in that they faced 3 of the same opposition: Arsenal, Chelsea and Brighton, and how the difference in terms of the performance, I mean, Villa only came out of 2 points from those games, West Ham came out with none, but in those games you can identify halves that West Ham played well in. Whereas at Villa, I think they've got a much more complete 90-minute performance, or there's less of a drop-off across their 90 minutes. And she was like, I really want to celebrate that you've brought that up. So it's obviously something that she's been working on. And I think she knew against a West Ham, if they could stay in the game for 90 minutes, they're more than likely going to win it. And that's exactly what happened.
They look good, I think.
Second half especially.
They look fine. They just needed to... I think a lot was made of their start of the season without really taking into context who they were facing. I think they did pretty well to come out of those first 3 games with 2 points, facing Arsenal and Brighton away from home. Especially like Brighton on the first game of the season, you can understand things not clicking into gear straight away. Arsenal was a big result for them. I think that could give them like all of the confidence. I think they're at home again this week, so they're going back home and they will be looking to build on that. Before they know it, they could start accumulating those points quite quickly. I think they look pretty good. They have an identity. We know what Natalia Arroyo wants to do with them. They're looking defensively pretty sound. Yes, but West Ham created opportunities, but I think they do still look structurally pretty good. And we know they want to get it to those fast players up front and influence play. So, and Kirsty Hansen is, having a phenomenal season.
Willems and Hansen's goals are things of beauty. Scoring from, Hansen especially, Willems was a free kick. Again, we've seen what she can do at free kicks, but Hansen's was from a corner, I think, a short corner. I think that was the one that came back out to her, and she scored it from a ridiculous angle. So 2 very, very nice goals. And Aston Villa will be very pleased to come out of that with the win, that's for sure. Get those 3 points on the board finally this season. Okay, shall we move on quickly to your player of the week, please?
It's tricky to say. I'm going to go with Kirsten Casper.
Okay.
I think she's had such 3 player of the match awards in a row. And she's deserved every single one of them. She looks really, really bright down that right side, playing with a lot of freedom. I think Andre Eggerts has allowed her to play with that freedom.
Given her more responsibility,
allowed her to be in those forward positions and to affect play. She got a goal, she got an assist. But yeah, she's dangerous throughout, and she has been for the last few weeks.
Love that. Well done, Kirsten. Okay, standout moment of the week.
I'm going to go with, I think, Anna Sambo's goal, because I loved it all. I loved the braveness and the build-up from United. I think they had all 10 players within inside like the 35
You texted me that again. You're like, all of their players. They're all
I was watching it before Everton got the ball. I was like, if they lose it here, they're absolutely screwed. But they didn't, and they created that goal. There was nice vision from Ella to get that ball out to Jade Riviere. They worked it back, the crossing from Letizia, who's like 5 yards outside the box, and then the hit from Sandberg.
The quality,
there's instinctiveness. It was so sweetly struck, and a really good, nice moment for her. I think not many people talk about her. because she came from Sweden. The Swedish league, people maybe didn't know so much about her, but I think she's more than proved herself.
Having a very good season.
She's having a very good season. That was also the first goal I think that she scored after the death of her mum in the summer. It's been a real tough time for her.
Yeah, God.
And I think you could just tell how much that meant to her when she was celebrating.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, run us through your team of the week, please.
Okay.
It's our team of the week if it's good.
No, and bad. Don't put it all on me.
Go on.
Okay, going in goal with Valentine's choice. I think she made some big saves. Kasparay at right back.
You might just leave her there.
I pretty much left her there for the last. Letizia at centre back. Claire Hunt at centre back as well. Anna Sandberg at left back. Sigiotti in the midfield. Jess Park, Vika Captain, Jess Naz, Bunny Shaw, and Kirsty Hansen.
All right. Not a bad team, that. I like it.
But I was undecided.
Okay, well, let us know what you think. Again, nicely. I'd like to have your opinions. You don't need to argue with us.
There are too many players to stick into a team of the week.
Stop being so good.
Yeah, just stop being good. And it's not a negative thing if you're not in it. I am having to pick. And I am quite strict with positions. Sometimes I move them around, but I am quite strict with positions as well. So when I have a gap and I need a 6, I'm looking for the best 6. I'm not looking for another player who I could just randomly put in my team.
Okay. And are you taking into account whether they're playing home or away or any of that business?
No, I don't.
All right, let's quickly run through the results of the WSL 2 because there's been a little bit of movement at the top and the bottom. Sheffield United 3, Ipswich Town 2, Birmingham City 1, Southampton 2, Bristol City 2, Durham 1, Crystal Palace 2, Newcastle United 2, Nottingham Forest 4, Portsmouth 1, Sunderland 0, Charlton Athletic 2. So it does mean we have a change at the top. Charlton Athletic are in prime spot on 13 points, unbeaten. Birmingham are in second on 10 points with Nottingham Forest and Bristol City below on 9 points. And we've got a change at the bottom too. Sheffield's win has bumped them up to 10th spot. They're on 4 points with Durham above and Ipswich Town below, also on 4 points. But Portsmouth are now at the bottom of the table this weekend on 3 points. Any other business? Champions League kicks off this week. Arsenal face Lyon on Tuesday night in Bournemouth. Nothing better than a tricky start to a league to face the 8-time champions on Tuesday for your first game in the Champions League. We'll see how that goes in Bournemouth, of course, which seems ridiculous that they're able to even have a Champions League game at Bournemouth. It doesn't feel like it meets any of the requirements, but I'm guessing they've gotten some special dispensation. So a nice dark pitch with a tiny press box. Can't wait. And then we've got Chelsea taking on FC Twente, and United welcome Vålerenga for their very first Champions League game to the beautiful LSV. What a place. But no, exciting for them. And I guess
we can only do one of them.
Yes, sorry, I was going to get into that, but I was going to say for United, I guess all games are going to be tough. It's Champions League, but I guess nicest way maybe to start to face Vålerenga. Not that it's going to be an easy game, but a nicer way to dip your toe in rather than against.
Yeah, it's a good platform if you can
get some points.
Get some points out of that one. You've got, no disrespect to Vålerenga, but there are tougher tests ahead of them. So get some points on the board and see what happens.
And perhaps same for Chelsea, although they are away.
I think Chelsea will be favourites against Twente. They beat them before when they faced them in the Champions League. I think it's a good start for them. It's not too challenging.
And Arsenal, do you think they can separate league from Champions League? See this as we're the champions of the Champions League right now. Let's get in there.
I think football. I think we dwell on, as spectators, we dwell on football a lot. I do think players and managers put games to bed very quickly.
Okay.
And that's not to say that there isn't feelings that run from bad runs of form or whether things aren't clicking and that kind of energy will pass through. But I do think they're very good at, a game is done, we box it off and we go on to the next one, the next challenge. And they have to be because that's their life. The next 8 months of their life is going to be moving on to the next thing, moving on to the next challenge. So they are good at that. I think what will help them a little bit. And I mean, Lyon look very good. Their front four are frightening. Mm-hmm. But what will help Arsenal will be that semi-final win. The nature of it at home was a big deal, I think. And yes, it doesn't always translate from season to season, but it always helps to know that you can do it.
I know we make fun of Bournemouth and LSV, but actually could they also be a small thing. You know, it's close, it's loud, both grounds, LSV especially. Sonny went past her touching it. She was like, we couldn't hear each other, and I was trying to shout things at players, and it was so loud. And you just, maybe those kind of smaller.
I mean, I think that's the case. I think Meadow Park, I don't think it's suitable for elite football in terms of everything around it.
Like, I think if you need special dispensation, then no.
Yeah, but I don't think it's suitable in terms of like the facilities available for the players, the facilities available for like the media, and all of that stuff. I don't think it's suitable, but I do think having that tight crowd, with a crowd like Arsenal's, who are they have all the songs and they are very, very noisy, and they do create the atmosphere. And you were at it last year, the Bayern Munich game that was held at Meadow Park.
Oh God, that was
in the rain.
Well, oh,
yeah, it was nasty weather, but it felt really tight atmosphere, and it does help get teams over the line, I think.
I'm sure. We shall see. Lots to look forward to. Okay, so coming up for us, we are going to Arsenal versus Lyon. As you say, we were going to do a game on the Wednesday. Near impossible to get to FC Twente at that time, and back. We have to be back early Thursday, because we have been. It's my birthday gift, so I have to be back in time for this. It's an early Thursday start, which again makes Manchester tricky as well for us to do. Given we've also been up in Manchester about 67 times in the last 3 weeks,
and we're going next week.
We're going next week, and not got paid jobs as well, which does play a part in where we go and where we choose to go. And if we don't have paid jobs, it can make it a bit more difficult to then make that commitment, especially for away games. So I am going to do Subway League Cup, because there are 2 fixtures this week. West Ham take on Brighton, which I'm hoping to go to, and Southampton take on Portsmouth. And I've been very nice and given you the job of covering the 2 Champions League games from the couch. You're welcome. And then all games on Sunday this week, annoyingly, are all on Sunday, yeah. I mean, at least they're not all 5 to friggin' 12, which is the weirdest kickoff time I've ever heard. But they are kind of spread out enough, I reckon, that we, and I mean 3. Me and you, not everyone, can at least catch 3. We can do a 12 o'clock one. If we do the Chelsea one, we can be home for the 2:30 one, and then we can watch the one at 4:45.
Yeah,
I want to say. So swings and roundabouts, I suppose. Better than only just getting one. Okay, that's everything for this week. Again, make sure you're subscribed and following us across all of our socials so you don't miss any of our content. Until then, till next week, we'll be back very soon.